Are you listening? Damn.
Yo, welcome to our AFC North talk. And you know, it was draft season and we're coming from the draft. I can see the chat right now. It's lit. Let's keep it professional, but just troll. They just troll. I'm okay with the trolling. I'm okay with the trolling. Remember, superchats are available. It's a way for you guys to get your question answer, or your comments highlighted. Also, hey, make sure you like. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And let's get this thing ready. Villanueva saying, well, let me go with the super chat. Let me go to the super chat real quick. The Trip, shout out to you, Trip. I'm gonna let y'all finish, but I just gonna say Browns A, Bengals B plus, Ravens B plus, and Steelers B minus. Brown making sure last year will be the new standard. LOL. Okay. So let's talk about Villanueva. Villanueva signs with the Ravens, and I said this pre-draft. I said the Ravens you're gonna see how they attack. If they get a tackle early, they're not gonna sign on these tackles. If they don't, it's because they don't like it, and they like either Villanueva or Kelly, and that's their plan for next year. And possibly means that they also like Phillips, the development that they saw from last year without a preseason or off season. So they might get a guy for a year to help him develop a little bit longer. The way with Villanueva, I think it's because, Stanley's coming off an injury. If they need him to play left tackle for maybe a couple games while Stanley's ready and Phillips can fill up in the right tackle position. But anyway, I'm going to start here with Tony, or with Never Like JOK anyway, since he's a
total trash player.
What do you think about the signing for the Ravens?
Well, it has been interesting to, the kind of cognitive dissonance of Ravens fans who have been telling Steelers fans all off season that their offensive line was trash, and now today are trying to convince themselves that a Steelers cast-off is gonna help their problems at right tackle. But no, look, Villanueva has been is a solid left tackle for the Steelers for the past 3-4 years now. He's been really solid. The problem is last year, and much like the entire offensive line, he took a real step backwards. Villanueva, the interesting thing about bringing him in, people keep asking me, can he play right tackle? Can he play right tackle? Now, look, I'm not 100% on the intricacies of the Ravens, their blocking scheme, their offense, but traditionally, right, you want your left tackle to be the better pass blocker, your right tackle to be the better run blocker. Villanueva's never been a great run blocker in his career. Very good pass rusher at times, but never really been a great run blocker. And so it's been interesting to me to hear that he's going to come in. They think he could just step in on the right side. So I just don't see him as that kind of player. It made more sense to me today when I started hearing about the idea that they're bringing him in more to play left tackle for a little while Stanley still recovers from the knee injury. So that makes more sense to me. Is it knee injury or Achilles that he suffered?
I thought he was the ACL.
Was it the ACL? Yeah. Okay. So it's good. So that could take him a little bit, and it was a midseason injury. So hearing that Villanueva is going to play left a little bbit, that makes more sense to me. But here's the thing about Villanueva. PFF had all these stats today. Oh, he's only allowed 5 sacks in the last couple of years. Villanueva last year, the Steelers' offense was all about pass. So quick. Ben got rid of the ball as quickly as possible. The one game where they tried to change that, and we'll all remember it because it was that tragic game on Monday night against Cincinnati when they tried to go with more 5-step drops. You know what Villanueva did in that game? Oh, he had the career worst. I mean, he had the worst game of his career. 7 pressures allowed. I think he allowed 3 sacks in that game. PFF gave him like a 20 or something in that game. I mean, they killed him, and they should have, because he was terrible in that game. So there are real questions about whether or not I think it's 32 years of age, he can still play. But the upside there is he's been a good player for so many years. You plug him in on the right side, and you hope that he doesn't fall apart.
Ace, what do you think, man?
Oh, I was gonna say that was courtesy of your man Carl Lawson, the pressure king. That was.
That's right.
But for me, Villanueva,
how to feel.
We kind of saw this thing going. I mean, we saw when they had interest in him before they made the trade, it was a no-brainer. It's smart because he's a guy that's a veteran that has plenty of experience, and he fits right in there. A slight downgrade from what they had there before, but not much of a downgrade. I mean, you're also not having to pay him as much money as you would have had to pay the other tackle that was formerly there with Orlando Brown. So you're paying him $7 million, I believe, each year. So it's a guy that's just a veteran that you can plug in and not have to feel like you're plugging in a Bobby Hart or something there at that right tackle position. So you can confidently say, yes, this guy isn't Orlando Brown, but it's not like a super massive downgrade to the point where you're worried about Lamar Jackson on the offensive line. And it also allowed them to be more flexible in the draft and go and get a guy like Ben Cleveland, because you already had offensive line issues last year with Orlando Brown, right? That was still an issue because Ronnie Stanley was hurt, and protection was an issue, right? So I think the fact that you added Ben Cleveland and didn't have to use that draft pick on a tackle, and we're able to sign a veteran tackle, I think makes it better for them in the long run. Now, you still gave him to the Chiefs, but it's still better than not having a guy that's polished and proven there. And I think that's what Alejandro Villanueva brings to the table for Baltimore.
Cute.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are being a lot more positive about this than I am. So, Raven fans, get ready. I know y'all optimistic. I know y'all love everybody that you'll sign and draft, and y'all get excited. I love that about Raven fans. But like Alejandro Villanueva at age 32, let me tell you what he's not doing. He's not going to switch seamlessly to right tackle. That's not something that like older veteran tackles do often in the NFL. Like you hear Joe Thomas talk about it. He says, yeah, you can make the transition from right to left side as a tackle as a college player, right? If you're a college player, he doesn't think you have the muscle memory snaps in you that'll make it real difficult. But as a veteran, like a literal veteran and an NFL veteran, dude's 32 years old, like what, at least 9 years into his career. He's been on the, has he swung ever, Tony? Has he ever been a swing tackle?
No, he has not. I don't think he's
okay.
A single snap at tackle. No.
Yeah, okay. No. So he's not a swing tackle. He's not just going to fit over there. Like I know people think of offensive line like Madden. Let's just put him at guard. Let's put him at tackle. With veteran offensive linemen, you talk about this with dudes coming out the draft. You can move them around because they're young in their career. But veteran 32-year-old dude, he's not just going to switch sides and that's going to be an overnight. He has 10 years of muscle memory to forget on being on the left side. I don't think that's happening. So I think what Tony said is him filling in at left tackle if Ronnie Stanley's not available at the beginning of the year. Absolutely applicable to the situation. Yeah. If that's all this signing is, that's cool. But if the signing is really like that's our solution on the right side, we're just going to put Andrew Villanueva, who looked washed last year. And by the way, who Myles Garrett like loves going against because the man has no dip. Like, so like that's not a great situation to be in. And the Ravens, like I get the optimism. I'm not trying to poop on y'all parade because maybe 3 years ago having Kevin. Well, 3 years ago, I'll just say 3 years ago signing Kevin Zeitler and Andrew Villanueva would have been a big deal. But 3 years is a long time in football, especially when it comes to trench players. And there's a reason why the Giants didn't have the best offensive line last year, still got rid of still were okay with letting Kevin Zeitler go. There is a reason that Andrew Villanueva is gone and being replaced by Zach Banner's on the right side. Chuks Okorafor. Yeah, they're okay with going with a dude named Chuks to replace him. Like, these are the teams that know these players the best, and these are the guys you're hoping to protect Lamar Jackson. I don't know if that's a great situation, but it's the situation y'all got. Now, we're going to get into the draft. I don't think we're talking about the Ravens today. Tevin Jenkins was there. There were some guys who I felt like would have been excellent fits at right tackle, but if we're talking about anybody who could fill in and be Orlando Brown Jr. caliber, there's nobody on this roster that is nowhere near Orlando Brown Jr. caliber, let alone like I don't know who's starting at right tackle right now. I don't know what that answer is. Maybe it's Ben Cleveland. He's real tall, but I heard they want to put him at guard. Yeah,
it's got to be Villanueva. If you're going to pay a guy $7 million a year, he's not riding the bench.
With this Villanueva, I mean, look, the offensive lines this year for the AFC North on spoiling our position reviews. But I think I said it in our chat. Look, it's the Ravens, it's the Steelers, and the Bengals. Like, we don't know what they got going on down there. Then you got the Ravens who, okay, at least they got Ronnie Stanley, right? Like, you know, they got a mess going on too, but at least they got Ronnie Stanley. And then there is a gigantic gap and a bigger gap. And in the pit from Mortal Kombat.
Okay, we get it, Quincy. Yes, the Browns. The Browns have a good. Yes, we got it. We got it. The Browns have a good.
They are so much.
Congratulations.
I will say this because we're gonna dissect these positions and nauseam soon. But for the Ravens, last year our right tackle situation consisted from DJ Fluker and Phillips. So swap that for Villanueva and Phillips. I think that is an upgrade from Phillips and Fluker.
But early in the year, it'll be Villanueva on the left side, right? Assuming Stanley can't go right, and then Phillips on the right.
Oh, wait. Let's think about what we're talking about there, though, right? In that situation, he's going to take all his training camp snaps on the left side, and you're going to move him to a position he's never played in the middle of the season.
I think he'll do both at camp. He'll probably do both at camp.
I think
he's 32.
But this is the thing. The whole reason that you traded Orlando Brown was because you wanted to line Ronnie Stanley up at left tackle. So that would be ridiculous if you just went ahead and like traded him. So a couple still line up Ronnie Stanley at right tackle. That just
no. Stanley's going to play left, but we're saying before he gets
Stanley's not going to be healthy. Before what Stanley might not be healthy,
so he'll play
in the season. But I'm just saying, like, this is you're asking a lot out of. And I get he's a former All-Pro player. Well, no, I don't know. If
no, he was never All-Pro. He was just really good. He was just good. Yeah,
he's a former really good left tackle. Whatever you want to categorize that. It's starting level, top 15 left tackle.
Yeah, I think
the question
what would be harder though? What would be harder, asking him to play left guard or right tackle? Because
I think it would be easier for him to play left guard than it would be for him to play right tackle because all of his muscle memory. Yeah, he's way too tall. He's like not bendy enough to be a guard. Yeah. But
I think that's why I think guard would be harder for him.
Well, I'm saying like when you think about a tackle, all their muscle memory is not. It's like literally learning how to punch with your offhand. That's what Jedrick Wills compared it to. And like if you're still punching with your strong hand, even if you're playing guard, like I think that's an easier transition than having to switch all the way and then turn around and try to be a switch hitter at 32. That's just I don't know if that's a reasonable thing to ask of him.
Yeah, right. I actually think in camp you will see him lining up on the right side all the time. Even if Stanley's not ready, Stanley probably is going to be practicing.
Yeah.
And they're just going to say, because even if Villanueva then has to fill for a couple of games of left tackle, that's second nature to him, but he will be practicing on the right side. But anyway, let's move on to our sponsor.
All right.
Let us know.
Let's do it. Yeah, listen, fans, I want to talk to you out there. You got Bush? You definitely do. If you haven't tried the best products from our sponsor today, of course, I'm talking about Manscaped. After using these life-changing products, you're going to want to join a ballsack beauty contest. I'm looking out for you, too, because I have an exclusive 20% off discount. Use the code Manscaped, use the code AFC North Talk at Manscaped.com. Manscaped is dedicated to helping you level up your full body grooming game with their Perfect Package 3.0 kit. The 3.0 kit comes with the essential Lawnmower 3.0 waterproof cordless body trimmer and other liquid formulations to round out your grooming routine. This is the best trimmer to help you trim your hedges. This trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to the advanced skin-safe technology pioneered by Manscaped. And guys, when you trim the hedges, the tree stands taller. Inside the Perfect Package, you'll also find the Manscaped Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, making sure your balls are smelling majestic before that Tinder date. You'll also find the Crop Reviver Ball Toner, a spray-on testy toner that's designed to make your balls smell irresistible. Go over to manscaped.com, get 20% off and free shipping, but you gotta use the promo code AFC North Talk. Do yourself a favor and always use the right tools for your bush trimming experience.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, so let me go through some super chats here. And shout out to Manscaped. By the way, shout out to all of you that have used the promo code. Manscaped has been happy with the return on investment, so I appreciate you guys who use Manscaped. Great product, guys. Okay, so let's go here.
AFC North Talk users have clean balls.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
You want to sit at the cool kids table at this show, you have to have Manscaped balls.
Yeah.
AFC North Talk promo code. Use it.
Use it.
Eric Furley, thank you for the super chat. Our punter is heavier and better than yours. I'm not sure.
We'll talk about Presley Harvin III. Eric, we're going to be doing that. We're going to be doing that next week. We'll be talking about the Steelers next week. We'll talk a lot about Presley Harvin III. That's right. They drafted a punter.
Rex Fortune, shout out to the donation.
Big boy.
I called it last week. I celebrated on Q stream Browns get first round talent in the second. Greedy, Delpit, JOK, and we can argue Chubb too.
We could argue Chubb might have been a first round talent in that draft. I mean, he's the best running back in the entire draft where one went 2 overall. But we can literally make the argument.
Mark Khan, thank you for the donation on AFC North Talk 5/4/2021. You heard it here first. Bucks Browns Super Bowl. See, the Browns are super happy.
Well, my man Mark Khan spelled Bucks like the Pittsburgh Pirate fans spelled Buccos. I was like, "Were we playing the Pirates?"
Yeah. Gavin, how? Shout out for your donation to the Canadian. Thank you from the Canadian side. I need Steelers win-loss prediction from Q, please. Well, we'll get to that at some point in very, very near future.
We already know it's going to be 7-9, and we'll deal with this all offseason. Let's go.
You guys have acted like I have not. No. Steelers go 10-7. Like that's
okay. Hey,
10-7. 10-7 until proven wrong otherwise.
And we appreciate that. Quincy. Welcome aboard.
Joshua Doran says, Q, with the Browns drafting Greg Newsome and JOK, what happened to Grady and Mac Wilson? Also, what do you think about Odell's IG video? I didn't even know he had an IG.
It's probably something about his rehab. Look, I'm not following. I'm not doing that one. But I will gladly answer the first question. And there's nothing about Odell. It's just I think I'm paused up here. But with the Browns drafting Greg Newsome and JOK, well, Mac Wilson, honestly, like he wasn't guaranteed anything anyways to start here. And the same thing with Greedy Williams. Greedy's got to prove he could come back from that injury and be who he thought he was going to be. And that's what training camp is for. Maybe he makes a roster. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe they trade him. Maybe a team like Pittsburgh jumps off the wire to take another Browns cornerback because they kind of like doing that out there in Pittsburgh. Either way, yeah, they're going to be fighting for their roster spot this offseason.
And David C with a big donation here. Shout out to him. Browns fan here. I have a real bet with my pit friend that he'll eat a terrible towel if the Browns win the Super Bowl. Thoughts? I think
are you gonna is that possible? Can you eat a towel?
You're gonna be sick.
I don't recommend it.
Make a cake that looks like a terrible towel, because I don't want your friend's digestive system to die because he decided to be a Steeler fan. Like I don't.
Tell him he has to take a number 2 and wipe it with the terrible towel. That would be a lot better.
He got to hang up.
Everybody knows when you disrespect.
You got to hang it up. No, just so you don't disrespect it, you got to wipe your butt because he's a Steeler fan. It's not disrespectful if a Steeler fan do it, right? Wipe your butt with the terrible towel and then nail it up on the wall. You got to keep it up for like 2 seasons.
Ooh.
Yeah, you got to explain that one to everybody you bring by the house.
What's
that stain on your terrible towel?
Nobody needs to go to his house.
Not hygienic. I don't think that's,
Ooh, man. Okay.
Better than eating it.
I would recommend. By the way, before we now segue to the Bengals here, we have 420 people watching us live. Can you takes a second. Smash that like real quick there. Smash it. We have 100 people with a like. Please just do that. Help us here in the channel. Okay, so the Bengals, hey, they win, and obviously they pass on Sewell. They got their boy Chase, right? Burrow's happy. Chase is here. We're gonna bring back LSU. Now all the records on offense, and then they got their tackle. But I'm not gonna deconstruct all the pick here. Q, what do you think about these Bengals draft? What grade would you give them?
I'm not going to be anybody's friend today. I did not like the Bengals draft. You know how I felt about Jamar Chase. Not that I don't think Jamar Chase is going to be a good player. Will Jamar Chase be a good player? Yeah. Now, is he going to instantly, day one, be better than Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins? I think that's questionable. Like, I don't know if that is necessarily like how good Jamar Chase is. I know y'all already excited. Uno and Burrow. Like, y'all got your whole thing going. Hey, look, excitement is what the offseason is for. I'm just not a big fan of Jamar Chase. I did not think he was the best wide receiver in this class, and he was technically the first wide receiver taken since Kyle Pitts is really the first wide receiver taken. Then you go to the second round. They took Jackson Carman. Don't know much about Jackson Carman. I know they traded back from a pick that could have got them Tevin Jenkins, but hey, look, they don't want to get another tackle. They feel set at tackle. They want somebody who can kind of flip and guard and maybe play tackle down the line. Okay, yeah, sure. I guess, so I'm not going to be too critical on that pick. I just overall, like if I just look down the line on all these picks, I'm not really in love with a lot of them. Like Chris Evans, I know Tony likes Chris Evans a lot. And again, like with Michigan players, they're much better after they leave Michigan. The coaching there is pretty terrible. They got another offensive tackle, Deontay Smith from ECU. Don't know much about him. They got a kicker though. I like that one. They got a kicker. When Austin Seibert's the only kicker on your roster, you need a kicker. Like, I know people are in this hype for Austin Seibert. It's wrong. Don't do it. It's fair. He's not good. I have no idea what he knows about some of these GMs to make him still in the league at this point, because he's proven he can't make field goals, extra points, or 40-yarders. I don't know how he's still in the league, but the man's still in the league, and you got to give credit to him for somewhat. Joseph Asai, the defensive end out of Texas, I wasn't crazy about that pick either. I thought there were some areas here in the draft where the Bengals should have been more aggressive. Offensive line, I felt like they should have spent more capital, more of their premium capital on that. I'm talking about that first round pick there. And then defensive end, if you're going to get Joseph Asai, I would have loved to see them be more aggressive. Azeez Ojulari was there at 46. Maybe you could get Jackson Carman at 69. You could play that game, maybe get a really good edge rusher. They were this close. The players were on the board for me to love the Bengals draft at almost every pick that they did. They just didn't do what I would want them to do. Now, again, I'm just a dude talking on YouTube. I might not know what I'm talking about, and this take might age like milk, and the Bengals might have one of the best drafts in franchise history. But if you're asking me my opinion right now, May 4th, 2021, I'm not a big fan of the draft. That does not mean that these players are condemned. That does not mean I'm out here actively wishing for Jackson Carman to stink or Jamar Chase to stink. Like, maybe this all pans out. Maybe this is a historic draft for the Bengals. I disagree. Yeah, that's just where I'm at with it.
Tony, what do you think about this draft for the Bengals?
Well, here's what I think about it. I think that, now that the whole Team Sewell versus Team Chase thing is over, and I know I'm a spoiled Steeler fan, right? I've never seen my team pick in the top 5, but can I just say how silly that whole thing was, right? Like the idea that half the fan base was split on, no, we have to take Sewell. You're going to end up with a top 5 player, all right? No matter what happens, you're going to end up with a top 5 player. You're either going to end up with the best tackle in the draft, or you're going to end up with the best wide receiver in the class. Things could be a lot worse. Now, look, I know that debate, kind of boiled down to this kind of symbolic gesture, right? The need to protect Burrow. We have to get a guy to protect Burrow, and that's what the Team Sewell team was all about. You can't pass up this guy, especially when offensive line has been such a big problem. I'll go to this. There was a Twitter thread a couple weeks back between Mitchell Schwartz and Daniel Jeremiah, and Daniel Jeremiah said something like, I've been talking to defensive coaches around the league, and their sense is, going up against an offensive line of 5 average players is harder than going up against one with 4 good players and 1 bad player, right? Because we can attack that bad player. We can attack your weak link on every play. Whereas if it's 5 average guys, you cannot. And Mitchell Schwartz, his response was something like, "Look, I agree with that, except in the case where if you already have a good offensive line, adding an elite offensive lineman to that strengthens it even further, right?" So that to me is what this came down to: is does getting Sewell fix everything, right? Is that the last piece? Is getting that elite left tackle the last piece? And then we have a 5 offensive line we like. And I don't know that was the case, especially when we started talking about the idea that, to start, Sewell might have to play guard while we wait for, Riley Lever's contract to expire or figure out if Jonah Williams can be healthy. That's why I really like, to me, the pick of this was the Jackson Carman thing, because I really like the Jackson Carman pick. Now, Ace, you tipped us off to this early and said, this is where they were going. I thought it seemed early in the draft, given where they were going to go, like, how many other tackles were on the class. But when they traded back, I really like that. I think Carman was a player when I watched him, because the Steelers had interest in him as well. I thought he was going to be a better guard than he was a tackle. So hearing that that's how they want to use him, start him as a guard, and then when one of these contracts expire, they move him to the right side. I think that's the best spot for him, and it's kind of the same way that they were going to use Sewell. When you look at it that way, right? When you say, okay, let's imagine that the Bengals in the second round took a guard, not a tackle, right? Then at value wise, I think they got maybe the best guard in the draft in Jackson Carman because I like him better than Aaron Banks, and I probably like him better than Wyatt Davis. It's close, but they got him before those two guys. I don't hate that pick. So I'm pretty okay with this draft. You know, going down it, I really liked Cam Sample. I mean, Cam Sample to me, Ace, you asked me the other day, you said, you know, you really liked Cam Sample. I hadn't watched him yet. I did watch him because I watched a bunch of Senior Bowl tape, specifically on Quincy Roche. Cam Sample's fantastic. This guy can play inside, he can play outside, dominated the one-on-one, highest win rate at the Senior Bowl of any defensive lineman, quick off the line of scrimmage, violent hands. You know, this guy is that they got someone there in Cam Sample. That's crazy for him to fall to the 4th round. But no, I think overall, look, I don't hate the Chase pick up top. And then, yeah, you're right. They did get my boy in Chris Evans at the back end of it as well.
So let me say this before I throw it to Ace. I said this in Ace's channel. I said, I disagree here with Tony. I think Sowell, if you draft to Sowell, it's going to be left tackle day 1. If anything, you then going to say, Jonah Williams, you can't stay healthy. If I'm going to put Sowell next year in left tackle, might as well just put him there now. Jonah Williams, here you go. You're going to be the guard. And I said to Ace, if I tell you which combination looks better, right? We have to play the games to see eventually which one would have been better or whatever, right? This is a way early prediction. It's just to have fun, but Sowell, and if really what they wanted was a wide receiver from LSU, Sowell and Marshall, right? And you could have traded back and still got Marshall. So Sowell and Marshall, or Chase and Carman. I think Sowell and Marshall, if Sowell is that guy, that left tackle, that lead left tackle for the future, 10, 15 years left tackle. Because the reality is, and here to what Quincy was saying, you have 2 really good wide receivers. So just adding Marshall would have just been adding more to a really good wide receiver. But then if you would have got the elite left tackle, you don't have to worry about that left tackle blind side for 10, 15 years. For Burrow, I thought that would have been the better move. Now, going after that, I thought Osai, different from Quincy. My problem with Osai was when people used to tell me that Joseph Osai was a 1st-round pick. He was not a 1st-round pick. Getting him in the 3rd-round pick, I had no problem. Yeah, getting him in the 3rd round, I had no problem with that. Cameron Sample, really good pick. I also like, look, the kicker, you can get worse than what you have, right? So I think
but why take a kicker though, right? Like you take a kicker if you think you're close, you know?
No,
look, man. Look, the Browns took a kicker off of an 0-16 season, and it was Austin Seibert, by the way, in the 5th round.
You guys watch the Bengals week 1. You guys watch the end of the Bengals game week 1 where Randy Bullock tore a hamstring on a field goal to go into overtime? That's why I take a kicker in the 5th round.
I don't know.
I had no problem with it. I would say this: Trey Hill. I have in the 5th round. No, Trey Hill, the center out of Georgia. I can see him developing into a center. Not this year, but maybe in a year or so. And you know, I think it was a solid draft. I think I would give it like a B-. My thing was always like those first 2 pick. If I flip it for another wide receiver from LSU and Sowell, I think that would have been a better combo. That's just what I think. Anyway, then before I throw to Ace, I have here a super shout real quick. This is addressing Q. The Rams only drafted Newsom because they were scared
of Jamar Chase. What a dumb super chat that was. No disrespect to whoever put that in there. Yeah, the Browns, like, first of all, like, the wide receiver to fear in this division is now Jamar Chase, right? Jamar Chase is now again, a lot of what you think about the Bengals draft depends on what you think of Jamar Chase. Some people think this dude is Julio Jones. I disagree. I don't think he's Julio Jones. Like, if this were Devonta Smith, I'd be having more of a conversation about it. I'm just not as high on Jamar Chase as a lot of Bengals fans are, or as a lot of other NFL guys are. Not saying I think Jamar Chase is bad, because sometimes that gets misconstrued, but do I think Jamar Chase is, like, going to be ultimately, like, one of the 5 best players in this draft? No, I don't think he's going to be that. So We'll see. Time will tell on that one. But the notion of the Browns had no outside corner other than Greedy Williams, who has nerve damage to his shoulder, and then Robert Jackson, who what did Chase Claypool call him during his film session, a bug or something like that? He was like, "Oh yeah, he was an undrafted dude who was on the practice squad." The Browns literally had no other boundary corners, so they were gonna always draft a corner. Like that was the plan at 26. From day one. That's why we talked about J.C. Horn. That's why we talked about Greg Newsome. I took him in the first mock draft that we did on this channel. So this notion that, oh my God, the Browns got scared of Jamar Chase. Boy, what are we going to do about that? What are we going to do about the Bengals? Like, come on now. We're not worried about the Bengals. We're kind of worried about the Steelers.
Timestamp it. Someone in chat, timestamp this and use it next year, please.
Yeah, timestamp it. With Baker's 7-1 versus the Bengals in his career because they're going to sweep him again. Right now, like the only team I'm more worried about. It's happened 2 out of 3 years with Baker, but
barely. Them last 2 games was barely. It was not no blowouts. It was not
I mean, it was a very close sweep, baby. It was a very close sweep. I get you, baby. I get you. Right. The Ravens had a very close sweep on us too. They only won that game by a point too, but we still got swept. Right. The team to the Browns. I'm more worried about the Ravens getting Rashad Bateman than I am about, not saying I think Rashad Bateman's better than Jamar Chase. We're just talking about teams you have to worry about. The Ravens getting Rashad Bateman is more concerning because ultimately at the end of the day, let me finish my point.
Just say that.
No.
He did not just say that.
Let me finish my point before this gets taken out of context. Not saying I think Rashad Bateman's a better player than Jamar Chase. I'm not saying that. Even though Rashad Bateman's going to be a really good wide receiver. I think he's more like Jarvis Landry with more speed. But
is he going to be as good as Jamar Chase?
I don't know how good Jamar Chase is going to be. Like, I'm not as sold on Jamar Chase as y'all are. So I'm just, that's where I'm at with him. Okay. But what I'm saying is the Ravens are right now undoubtedly a better team than the Cincinnati Bengals. And if you look at the AFC North, they're the biggest competition. And they're a harder team to beat for the Cleveland Browns than the Cincinnati Bengals are. So the Cincinnati Bengals, if they get an elite wide receiver, it's not really going to change the calculus on how you beat the Cincinnati Bengals for the Cleveland Browns. The Baltimore Ravens, if they get an elite or a good wide receiver, right, because they haven't had very many good wide receivers on their roster, I think they got 2 in this draft. That's a bigger problem for the Cleveland Browns because the Ravens just present more overall problems that's just adding to a pile. Jamar Chase being good, that's like 3-4 problems the Browns have with the Bengals, but ultimately you feel like the Browns are still the much better team. When you go against the Ravens, it's kind of a tie with those two, right? The Ravens are the better team. They beat the Browns 2 times last year. So if you're looking at it from a Browns fan perspective, like Rashad Bateman going to the Ravens, that's a bigger problem than Jamar Chase. Not comparing the 2 players on how good they're going to be down the line. But again, y'all going to clip this out of context eventually, right? Like I already
don't have to, right? It's a dangerous take.
The Ravens to me are dangerous.
I'm relying on the Ravens being right on a first-round wide receiver.
The Ravens to me offensively are different, present a different problem for you guys. Like for me, when you talk about adding Jamar Chase to T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, there's nobody in this division, I personally think, that has the corners to defend that other than the Ravens. I don't think the Browns have that.
Corners aren't really what I'm worried. Like, I think we could still ultimately get pressure on Joe Burrow and then cancel that thing out, and get some blitz packages with JOK.
You're not blitzing with those 3 guys out there. Like if that's your game plan,
we'll blitz. I think
with those 3 guys, good luck.
I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine. Honestly, you can blitz against them.
Let me say this.
Good luck. Send JOK straight through. We're good with that.
Yeah, he'll get to Joe Burrow.
Go ahead.
How much better is Chase than AJ Green today?
I'm just gonna start from the beginning.
Right now, of all, AJ Green's trash. I mean, like we're talking about AJ Green's prime, right? You're
talking about Joe Burrow almost threw 4,000 with that. So what do you think he's gonna do with Jamar Chase? So I'll just start it off here. Jamar Chase, if you were to take him in last year's draft, he's better than any of the receivers that went in that first round. You're talking about a guy that is he AJ Green? Is he Julio Jones? In my opinion, no, but that's because they're 6'4" and they run blazing fast speed. He still runs a 4.38. He still would have been the number 1 receiver taken. He still was Joe Burrow's number 1 receiver out of LSU. I mean, he plays in the LSU offense. It's pretty much easy for him to assimilate into this offense, which I understand why they took him, because the chance for you to get someone like Chase in the first round with him already having that connection with Joe Burrow, with him being the top receiver prospect. I mean, after the LSU Pro Day that he had, you kind of had to shift from Panay to Chase. I was even threatened at that point because I didn't expect him to run a 4.38. I didn't expect him to have a 41-inch vertical. And so those are numbers that are crazy for a guy coming from not only that, but also the same school as Joe Burrow. The thing that the Bengals said is when they watched Joe Burrow in 2019, when it was time for them to draft him in 2020, they said, man, this Jamar Chase guy is just blowing up off of the screen. He was the best receiver at LSU. A year later, they have the opportunity to take this guy. It just so also happens that this is a draft where you can get more than one lineman in the second round. Are they Penei Sewell? No, but they're still solid enough to come to the Bengals. Now, here's the thing where the Penei Sewell thing became an issue. When they signed Riley Reef, who was an average tackle, better than Bobby Hart, that was an upgrade. Yes, he's 32 years old. He's not a final solution at that spot. The Bengals' real issue, which I told you guys on several shows, wasn't their tackles. It really was their guards. Like when you talk about Michael Jordan, when you talk about Xavier Su'a-Filo being injured, when you talk about Quentin Spain being injured, the real issue was really at guard. Even though I hate Bobby Hart didn't have a bad season last year for Bobby Hart standards. He usually gives up 10 sacks a season. Last year it was only 4, and he had I think if I'm not mistaken, his highest PFF grade. But my issue was obviously Sewell was a generational guy, so it's almost like skipping over someone like a Tristan Wirfs or one of those guys there being there. So I did want him at the time, but when you look at it from what they ended up doing and from what I heard when they talked about Jackson Carman, a lot of people are like, I don't know who Jackson Carman is. It's the guy that was protecting Trevor Lawrence's blind side for the past 3 seasons. So the one thing that they looked at into it, and I called Big Willie. Big Willie actually called me and told me that they were going to go with Jackson Carman, and they asked his opinion on him. I mean, Willie Anderson is a Pro Bowl lineman. For him to tell me that Jackson Carman is going to be good, he can play at right guard and he can play at right tackle. I can't say the same for Tevin Jenkins. Everybody's saying Tevin Jenkins. Tevin Jenkins was kind of stiff. I don't know if he can play guard and have the flexibility of playing left guard, and right tackle. Jackson Carman can do that. He also did it on a high level. He came from a championship caliber team, and that was the theme of this draft. They picked guys that were champions. They talked to Dabo Swinney before this pick was even made. They looked at a lot of things. A lot of people, we always kind of go off of what the mock draft masters of these, we think that what they say where these guys are going to go is where they're going to go. And you got to think about it. There was no combine. There was COVID, a lot of access to these guys. They didn't have it. Like Jackson Carman was not a 3rd or 4th round pick. When they talked to teams around the league, they said that he was a late 1st to 2nd round pick. Everybody else had him as a 3rd rounder. If you look at PFF, they had him as a 2nd rounder. For what the Bengals did to move back, if you're not going to get Penei, to move back and get 2 4th round picks, not 1, but 2 of them, to move down 8 spots, I can't be mad at that. If Jackson Carman is just average, that is a complete upgrade over what they had on Michael Jordan the year prior, which Michael Jordan was the worst guard in the league. He easily was the worst guard in the league. He gave up so many pressures. He was responsible for the majority of those pressures that the Bengals had last season. And then Bobby Hart was another one. You move those 2 guys out of there. You now have Jackson Carman, who at his floor is easily going to be better than Michael Jordan. And then you also have Riley Reef on the right of him. You have and one thing I did to cut the tape on, and I looked at Jackson Carman in 2019. And against Chase Young, it was definitely shaky. I'm not going to lie. But he worked with Willie Anderson that offseason. And the next season, I didn't even recognize him. He looked completely different. He looked very better than what he was in terms of his technician and everything like that. Like one thing that I saw him struggle with was speed on the outside. And when I watched him in 2020 against Carlos Basham, he shut Basham completely down. He seemed to have improved vastly. And so for me, it was as simple as, okay, if Willie Anderson is going to say this kid can do these things and be good, I'm going to take his opinion over Daniel Jeremiah, who said that Tristan Wirfs was a guard. And he's supposed to be one of the best guys. And clearly Tristan Wirfs might be a Hall of Famer at tackle. So I can't take what mock draft guys are saying versus actual players. But then you get to the 3rd, you get Joseph Asai. Just like Sonny said, he was supposed to be a 1st round pick. You got him in the 3rd round. You lost Carl Lawson. You had the trenches that were horrible on offense and defense. And that's why I love this draft so much, because you only had 17 sacks last year. You lost Carl Lawson. You went out and you brought in Hendrickson, but you still needed to beef that up. I was talking to Khalid Kareem during the draft, and he said he is an edge himself. And he was like, yeah, man, we need some more people in there. And that was when they drafted Osai. And so then they go after that. They go and get Cam Sample. Cool. but then they come back and they get the trenches. I was worried about them taking Chase because I felt like they were going to ignore the trenches. They proved through this draft that is exactly what they went after. And that's why they didn't get another wide receiver after they got Chase, because there was no reason to. So they went out and they got defensive tackles, edge rushers, and they got another offensive tackle in Dante Smith. The reason why they picked him, he is definitely a prospect type player, but he's got 36-inch arms. And so he's a guy that Frank Pollock, who is also the new offensive line coach, that is not Jim Turner, he's going to try to develop him. And then you also have the kid from LSU. I love him because last time I watched the Bengals play football, the Ravens ran for like 400 yards against them. So how do you stop that? You get an immovable object that's 350 pounds and 6'4", and you sit him right in that gap. So I have no problem with them doing that at all. We talk about kicker. Austin Seibert, complete garbage. Randy Bullock, complete garbage. These were guys that lost us games, not even just the Los Angeles Chargers game. It was other games where Randy was not making that kick for you. You're literally going to have a panic attack when you're sitting there wondering if Randy Bullock can make a 30-yard field goal, 40-yard field goal, or 50-yard field goal. There were times that they just went for it because they knew he wasn't going to make the field goal. Evan McPherson, if he can be a guy that's just consistent, that will be a huge upgrade for them in the kicking game as well. Some of the other guys they got at the end, Chris Evans, I get it because we moved away from Giovanni Bernard. If he can be a guy, I think a lot of people are thinking that he can not only be a running back, but a slot receiver as well. So they plan on using him that way. So we'll have to see what that happens. And then they ended up getting Wyatt Hubert. They take another edge. I was perfectly fine with it because I was preaching the entire offseason, trenches. The game is won in the trenches. And they didn't pick every guy that I wanted in the trenches. Like some of the names that they threw out there, I kind of had to, do some research and hear about it. But they attacked the trenches, and that's what they needed to do on offense and on defense because the defensive line was horrible as well. You had Geno Atkins leave. You traded Carlos Dunlap. Like they had to do this, in my opinion, for what they did. So I actually liked what they did, and I'm ready to see how it plays out. And if Jackson Carman is just average, I think that they win that because adding Jamar Chase to T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Auden Tate, that's going to be hard to kind of guard. And that's going to be one of the best young receiving cores in the NFL for the foreseeable future, in my opinion.
Okay, so I will say this, and with this, we're going to talk super chat. The only position that I was surprised that the Bengals didn't attack was tight end. I was expecting them to get a
bad class.
Thaddeus Moss, baby. LSU,
Thaddeus Moss. That's right. I forgot. Thaddeus Moss. I forgot about him.
Bad tight end class. We'll talk more about that next week.
I did think about Brevin Jordan, though. I did think that they should have looked at Brevin Jordan later. Like after Kyle Pitts goes off of the board, no offense to the Steelers or anything, but even when I was looking at the Frymore guy, because some people were like, "Oh, we can just get him in the second round." I was like, "Nah, he's not Kyle Pitts, bro." So
he's not Kyle Pitts. I mean, no one's Kyle Pitts.
No one's
not
Kyle
even.
Pitts,
They keep this idea.
Well,
we'll talk. Well, I don't want to. Yeah, we should go on. We'll talk about Frymouth next week.
So
Frymouth is next week. Yeah.
Shout out to George Lewis for the donation. Chase being on the Bengals equals Gordon from the Browns.
Two different kind of guys. I mean, Josh Gordon is a freak of nature.
So
Jamar Chase, though, I mean, Jamar Chase, this is a guy who is NFL proven, and I say that because he played against NFL caliber corners. That his 1 year where he put up. I mean, what he did to AJ Terrell in that game. I mean, it was phenomenal. And AJ Terrell is a starting corner in the league right now, and he played in the SEC, where SEC, is cornerback conference. So I think Jamar Chase is going to be just fine in that. Whether or not he reaches the heights of the guys we're talking about, Jamar Chase is going to be a very good receiver in this league. I almost know.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And shout out to the Lions fan in here. I'm glad that y'all got Panay because y'all made me look good for taking them 2 picks later. But y'all got to get some receivers, man. I don't know what. I looked at that receiving depth chart. Y'all might have to sign me or Quincy out there to run some routes.
They got that Belichick wide receiver room, baby. We're going to have competition. That's the worst thing when you hear the coach. They got Man Campbell out there, too. Yeah, we going to come out there. We're going to have us a good old competition. Anybody could get on. You're going to have undrafted dudes. To be fair, though, Kyle Shanahan does that kind of thing all the time. And that's you found like Taylor Gabriel like that, who ended up being a good wide receiver for a while. So, this is going to be one of them things. It's just you got Jared Goff out there throwing the rock. And, Jared Goff's used to having a little bit more than nothing.
You're trying to bottom out. You're trying to bottom out, right? I mean, listen, Jared Goff is a good way to bottom out.
Oh, Jared
Play
Goff
under
is about to
review.
make so much money after he gets cut.
Shout out to Play under review for the donation. I'll give Ace Boogie a break today. Love what y'all do on this channel. Who they?
Appreciate that.
And then we have, look, I don't want to, I think this is the next one. Gavin, another one for him. Thank you for the donation. Bengals gonna get 4 games out of Joe. Then who throws to Chase?
The line is much improved, man. The line is much improved. Come on, guys.
ACL.
But this point,
they had a great wide receiver room.
You
Okay,
still
I know
have
I've been-
Wendell Williams, Riley Reef. Like,
Yeah.
as long as you're not rolling Michael Jordan and Bobby Hart, and now I am worried about the other guard position. Like, if Jackson Carman, I think they're going to probably go with Quentin Spain, which I like Quentin Spain, but as long as they throw those guys out there, Trey Hopkins is a good center. Like, they shouldn't be that bad. I think people just don't realize how bad Michael Jordan was. Michael Jordan was very bad.
Yeah, I think
That was where he got hurt at. That's who got thrown into Joe Burrow's leg.
And I think the concern, I know I've been tough on the Bengals for this period, but like I think the concern about Joe Burrow getting injured, right? Oh my God, he's going to get injured again. That's a little overblown when it comes to the offensive line. I think the conversation about him in the offensive line is if you get him elite protection, does that get him better play than getting him an elite wide receiver? Yes. Obviously, y'all know where I'm at on that conversation. I think elite protection is much better than getting an elite wide receiver, but we'll see what happens. That's the beautiful thing about football. It's going to play out on the field.
I agree. So shout out to Soul Train. During the draft, what was the People's Cutting Pro Wrestling promos before the pick?
Y'all act like the draft was going to be
it's already dragged out.
But come on. They do this every year now, right? I mean, the second and third round is basically just we just do wrestling promos.
They're trying to get a viral clip, you know. They'll throw 30 dudes out there, maybe 2 hit, you know, one's Pat McAfee every year, and then boom. It's just look, if you think the draft's dragged out because of that, no, the draft is dragged out because ESPN and the networks who get the television contracts for it demand it should be dragged out because it's a big money getter for them. Why do you think the pick could be in for 10 minutes and we just sitting there watching Booger McFarland break down tape on Mac Jones right before the 49ers pick, right? Like this is all a spectacle. They go drag that thing out regardless of who is talking or what they're shouting out.
Can we agree, though, and Chad, I want to get you involved in this as well. Can we all agree that the format was a billion times better when it was Saturday, Sunday? Saturday,
yes.
Pick rounds 1 through 3. Better. Sunday, rounds 4 through 7. That's the draft. That's the way it should be. Forget all the primetime stuff. Thursday night. We got to stay up till midnight on Thursday.
They messed the draft up when they moved it back all the way.
They're not going to change it, though, because they probably get so many advertising dollars. They're not going to go back. But I was just telling my wife that. I was like, 17 way better.
Before we move now to the Browns,
they're gonna add day 4 to the draft pretty soon.
Yeah, they might.
Let me say this. Give me your grade for the Bengals, chat. Just put your grades real quick there for the Bengals. Luke, shout out to you.
We did a poll. Didn't we do a poll? I'll pull up the poll real quick.
Oh yes, thank you. Luke, and make sure you like and follow us on Twitter so you can be part of the post. Luke, shout out to you. £2 from the UK. Look at that. How many AFC North teams make playoffs this year? They might be 3 again. They might be 3. I think 2.
4. Let's go with 4. Let's go with 4.
Can there
all
be
4?
Yeah,
right? They can now, right? Because they got 7. Yeah, because it's the Oprah Winfrey thing.
I think
you get a playoff spot.
Even as a Bengals fan speaking, I think that this isn't the year for the Bengals to make the playoffs. Like, I think this is a year where you see what you have, you try to make some moves. I really liken it to the Cardinals when they had Kyler Murray the second year, right? I think they went like 7-9, 6-10, or something like that. I think that's the equivalent. And then the next year is when they try to make that playoff run, especially getting Joe Burrow. I mean, expecting him to go to the playoffs off of tearing the ACL is just a bit of a stretch to me to expect that just, right out the gates, especially with a tough schedule.
And they got to fire their DC still, right? They haven't fired their defensive coordinator yet.
Yeah, Lou is still there.
Lou's got one more year before then you start talking about this team being dangerous.
Yeah, I know Tony was joking about like, oh, you get a playoff spot, you get a playoff spot. In the AFC, it wasn't like that. In the NFC, it very much was. Yeah, the AFC, it was like you could be 11-5 and miss out. So even if the Bengals do go over 500, which I think they'll be closer to 500 than people think this year. I know people are like, oh my gosh, Quincy's a Bengals hater. I've been consistent on this for like all year. But yeah, I think it's going to be real hard to make the playoffs, especially with how many, like the Dolphins got better. A lot of those margin teams did get a lot better in the
Yeah.
offseason.
I love what the Dolphins been doing. Okay, so this is the poll that we did for the AFC North. Again, follow us on Twitter. We have 250 votes right now. I think it's still open. Go make sure you vote. But overall, B, and I think that's roughly the consistency. So that
well, a little more A's in there, right? And I think it goes to the idea that there was half the Bengals fans were Team Chase, half were Team Sewell.
64% on B. I mean, I think that's a strong draft right there. I would say, I think it was a strong draft. But let's move to the Browns. Let's move to the Brownies. I'm going to start with this one. The Browns, in my opinion, Greg Newsom, and I was telling this to Q before. I said, I thought Newsom was about late first, early second, but I got that pick, right? Not because of Chase, none of that. We talk about our mock drafts every time we were doing mocks. We always said Browns need what? Cornerback help. Okay. But then look, I remember in that pick 26, I'm like, oh man, they're gonna draft JOK. I said in the AFC North talk, this is the guy that I don't want them to draft in the first round. Well, they passed it. That made me happy. Although Newsom's such a solid pick, and then my first, I was gonna cost. Go ahead, second round JOK, fantastic draft, and then another pick that I love from the Browns in the fourth round. I don't know how to pronounce this dude's name, but Tomi Togiai. Okay, so this dude, I was hoping the Ravens draft him because I wanted him as a D-line replacement in the future. I think he has the potential to possibly be a nose tackle. I like him a lot. So those three picks for me, and I know a lot of people were talking about Schwartz as a replacement of OBJ.
No,
for me, that's inconsequential. The other three picks, especially the other two, Togiai in the future, but the other two, definitely they won impactful players. I was hating life. I was hating the Browns. I give the Browns an A for this draft. Just on those two picks alone, I didn't need to, because the Browns right now didn't have too many holes. They did not have too many holes coming into the draft. And getting the corner, getting the linebacker, I thought they hit a home run. So let's go here with Browns. Literally the worst class I ever seen.
Terrible. Trash class. Trash. Did they even get a good player in this whole mix? I mean, I'm looking through their list. I'm trying to find one guy who's even going to make. I don't know if anybody makes the roster, to be honest with you, Quincy. I'm looking down the list. I don't see how any guy even gets on the roster. So,
over your right shoulder, your tank of copium is exposed right now.
No, this class. I mean, of course, everyone's going to give this class an A. I mean, this is a team that ended up, okay, they were at pick, 26 in this class, and every Browns fan's going, is it Newsom? Is it JOK? Is it Newsom? Should we pass on JOK to get Newsom? I don't know which one to get here. Oh, why not get both? And oh, by the way, why not get both and not have to move us, not have to trade away? Oh, they did trade up, right? But they only traded
for a third.
They chopped fourths. Yeah, that's right. So not really having to give up a whole lot to do it. My goodness. Okay, let's talk about this class. First of all, Greg Newsom. I mean, look, the biggest knock on Greg Newsom in this class is that he's in a class with J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain, right, who are tremendous prospects. But it's not like Greg Newsom is that far down from that. I mean, Newsom in 2021 was unbelievable, put out some unbelievable tape. The Steelers had some interest in Newsom, so I got a chance to watch some of him. 12 catches allowed in 2021 on 223 reps, okay? A 31 passer rating against for Greg Newsom. He plays the ball well. I think he tested better than he looks, but that's a 2021 thing, isn't it? Like everybody in 2021 tests better. I don't think he tested like he's this elite premier athlete. Yeah, his athleticism's fine, right? It's certainly not a knock on him where you say, oh, I don't know if he could play, or, I don't know if this is going to translate or whatnot. Really, the only knock you can really say about Greg Newsom is the level of competition. He put up these great numbers, but in the Ohio State game, he only played 11 snaps in that game before he went out with injury. So that's the one disappointment you have about Greg Newsom. Otherwise, you're getting a player who traits-wise checks all the boxes. Production-wise, yes, it's against a lesser competition, but also checks all the boxes. So that's a good pick. JOK broke my heart. I'm going to stop. This is it. Right now, I'm calling it right now. I'm going to stop having favorite players in the draft. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm done liking everyone sucks in the draft. Everyone sucks. Because the player that I come out and I say, oh, I love this kid. Can't wait till he's in black and gold. No, he ends up over in Cleveland. So I'm done with that. Look, JOK is, as I said, first round talent in the second. People, so much is made about, oh, he's too small. He can't play the run. Too small. Can't play the run. Okay. That's true if you just looked at his size and you didn't turn on any tape. If you just went to his mockdraftable.com and you typed in Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and you looked at his size, you went, oh, that guy can't play the run. But the moment you turn his tape on, I mean, he's as physical and explosive as they come. Yeah, he's small, but he doesn't play small, okay? Zaven Collins, on the other hand, is a big dude. Oh, Zaven Collins does not play like a big linebacker. Mm-hmm. And by the way, Owusu-Koramoah, taken in the second round. I cannot emphasize this enough. The Browns got this kid in the second round. Look, the one knock on JOK that is legitimate. Where do you play him, right? Because he's so good that he could be a nickel. He could be, a traditional linebacker. He could be a safety.
And I think that's why he went a little bit later, because of the Isaiah Simmons last year had a tough time adjusting, right? Exactly.
And that's I think is going to be the issue, because Isaiah Simmons was very much a player where, the coaching staff, even in Arizona, said, where do we play him? We want to play him in all these different spots. And, remember, Owusu-Koramoah still has to go through and translate, his game to the NFL speed and whatnot. So when you're throwing all that at him, and I think that Arizona did this poorly, the Browns, we'll see if they do it any better. But that's the one thing about Owusu-Koramoah that could hurt him. I think
the best thing I would say, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Tony, the best thing the Browns can do is just say, if they want him to be a linebacker, you're just going to be a linebacker, and that's it. Just concentrate there. And as I think what the Cardinals were doing, they were trying to do too much. And as a rookie, I understand Simmons did it in the college level, but as a rookie, they're trying to process so much information. Then he was trying to, because essentially it's a Swiss Army knife, right? He was okay, but he was never be able to take a position, just be great at.
Yeah, what I'll say about the Isaiah Simmons things is also, like, keep in mind the situation of Isaiah Simmons. When he got drafted, I remember saying that's like putting heated seats in a Ford Tahoe, in a Ford Pinto. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because like heated seats are cool, but like if you ain't got a good car to put them in, like, you pretty much wasting your money there. And that's the issue with him, right? If you're going to draft a JOK or Isaiah Simmons, you want to make sure you have all your pieces on defense ready to go. Browns are in a better situation with that, where if the real Browns really just wanted him to play will linebacker, they could just have him play will linebacker. They want him to blitz in certain packages, they can have him, but they're not asking him to pass rush. They're not asking him to play safety. They're not asking him to do all of these different things, and then depending on him to be really good at it, because they have Myles Garrett, they have Denzel Ward, they have John Johnson III, they have intermediate guys. Malcolm Smith is a decent linebacker that you can put in there, as well as like Sione Takitaki. So you have pieces around him to where you're not asking him to do too much. But I'm not going to wax poetically about JOK yet. I'm going to let Ace.
Well, I do have one more thing here I want to hit on, because while the Browns did nail it in rounds 1 and 2, I was very happy to see. I think they screwed it up in round 3. Steeler fans, you'll get this reference. They Dre Archered it. The Browns Dre Archered it.
Oh, they got the fastest guy.
The Steelers showed some interest in Auburn's wide receivers, because they also get enamored with speed. Tomlin and Colbert were in attendance for Auburn's pro day, so I watched a lot of Seth Williams, a lot of Anthony Schwartz. Look, Anthony Schwartz ran a 4.240. Okay, and it's not one of these fake 4.240s that you see. That's that's on tape. That one is on film. But here's the problem. That's all you see. I mean, he's fast. Yeah, he blows by you. Yeah, he's super fast. Lance Zierlein. Go to NFL. Everyone now go to NFL.com. In another tab, leave this open. Go to Anthony Schwartz's prospect page on NFL.com. Read Lance Zierlein's strengths for Anthony Schwartz. It's hilarious. It's like 7 different ways to say he's fast. He's fast. He blows by you. Really dangerous at the line of scrimmage. Dangerous on an end run. Yeah, we get it, Lance. He's fast. What about everything else? And that's all the negatives. Like, all right, well, yeah, he's fast, but not a great route runner. Not great at the catch point. Instincts aren't very good. That's the stuff you have to worry about if you're a Browns fan, especially in the 3rd round. The Steelers drafted a player like this a couple years back. Actually, it was probably 5-6 years ago now. No, it was Dre Archer.
Dre Archer out of Kent State.
Yeah, Dre Archer out of Kent State. I mean, the guy basically never played it down. He just, because again, speed, speed kills, but speed doesn't always translate. And I think that's the worry here with this pick.
Okay, so before I throw it to Ace, I'm going to take some super chats real quick here. Planet Review says, got trigger. Fire Lou on a
boo-boo.
On a boo-boo.
Gavin says, hot take, Browns finished 3rd. And don't break 10 wins. That is a hot take.
That is a hot take.
That is steamy. Okay, Ace, what do you think about this Brown pick?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Browns did a great job in the draft. I think the one thing that worried me was I thought Caleb Fairley was going to get down to him, but even though they still get a great corner in Greg Newsome, and then they come back and get JOK, I think we all figured that was going to be the case because we were talking about him on this this show last week. So for them to get a corner and a linebacker, I think that those were the only kind of question marks for their defense. You talk about the Anthony Schwartz pick. That is the one where I kind of scratch my head. We see the speed and stuff like that, but if they would have got a guy like Jalen Darden or something like that, then I would have been more worried about the receiver position. I'm not mad at it, though, because they did need a burner. So we'll have to see what he does. And, I mean, you still got OBJ and you still got Jarvis Landry, Peoples-Jones and all of that. So I like that. Well, I didn't like that. I like how their receiver core is set up, though. And then James Hudson was a pick that I really liked. He was a guy from Cincinnati. I thought that the Bengals would actually take a chance on him instead of Deontay Smith. So when the Browns took him, that kind of stung a little bit. As far as the rest of the guys, I'm not going to lie. I haven't done too much research on them in terms of the DC out of Ohio State, the other linebacker. But when you just look at the top two picks, for them to get those two guys, I think that was great. And the James Hudson pick also stands out to me as well. And I think I have to give them an A for this draft just because they were able to get two guys like that in the first and second round. And, didn't have to give up that much draft capital to get it. I mean, when you get your top two guys, it would be like us essentially getting, and no, this would not happen, but it would be like us getting Panay and Jamar Chase. Like, for that to happen for a team is just ideal.
Yeah, that's disgusting. That's what I'm saying. That's disgusting for the Browns to get this good of a draft. Shout out to Mischief. Browns, JOK, and Newsom will be impact the players early on. Only concern is Greedy and Mac could be fighting for a job early on.
If your team's good enough to where Greedy Williams and Mac Wilson can't make it, you're in a good position. I'll just let you know.
What do you think of this draft?
Poor Greedy.
Yeah. So Greg Newsome, I'm high on Greg Newsome. I thought he was the third best corner in this draft. I was actually hoping Caleb Farley would go in between there, so I wouldn't have to worry about him at 26 because I'm just out on him with the back injuries. Now, again, Caleb Farley's probably going to be great since I said that, but I was out on Caleb Farley. I didn't want Caleb Farley. I wanted Greg Newsome. If he was there at 26, I would understand taking him over like JOK even at the time because I thought corner was a more pressing need. And when you look at Greg Newsome on tape, the tests don't really match up with what you see because when you watch him on tape, you see a guy who's versatile. He's done a lot of zone at Northwestern. He's also somebody who could be a capable man press corner, but he also struggles when asked to cover way too much space or if you put him on an island. He's somebody who's a good number two next to Denzel Ward, right? You can develop him, put a safety over top of him, and let Denzel live on that island because we know Denzel ain't got no problem with long speed. So you're fine there. He'll be in a competition with Greedy Williams to see if he can win that spot. And like I said, the Browns fans, whoever wins that battle, you're fine with, right? If Greedy wins it, hey, great. Greedy's stepping up. Maybe we could trade Greedy next year. Or if Greg wins it, great. You got this guy under control for the next 5 years. So you're fine with whoever wins that battle. And that's a good position to be in. If Greedy can add some depth, he can add some depth. He probably won't be cut. I don't think that's going to happen. And then, the second round pick, everybody's talked about it. JOK, it's a great pick. He's my favorite player in the draft. He was my favorite linebacker, obviously, in the draft. I felt like the linebackers went in reverse order this year, right? Micah Parsons went first, then Zaven Collins, then Jamin Davis, then JOK. I'm pretty sure, did I forget somebody? Was it? No.
Bill Moses didn't even get drafted.
Go to the fourth. To the fourth round or something like to the Cowboys. So I absolutely love JOK on the Browns. I would have loved it at the first round. I would have loved it. They would have traded up for it. And I definitely love it at 52. That's a great pick. And you talk about where we're going to put him on the field. The Browns have a lot of flexibility and versatility in that defense. It's truly going to be with the back 7 or 8 guys. It's going to be, hey, whoever's best for a given situation. Maybe JOK sees a lot of snaps versus the Ravens because it makes a ton of sense versus the Ravens for him to see a ton of snaps. But if you're going to play a team, there's nobody in the division that really pounds the ball like the Browns do. So like if you're playing like the Tennessee Titans, maybe you do go heavier, right? With Anthony Walker or something like that. You want to get a heavier guy in there. It's going to determine game to game what he's going to be doing in each game or his matchup, right? If you got an elite tight end, maybe you feel better with JOK and his extra weight there versus a different DB. Either way, You're not a team like the Cardinals who had a terrible defense and then drafted this versatile player to be a cherry on the top of a boo-boo pie. Like, that's not the case here. You have a not a well-developed defense yet, because we don't know what they're going to have, but what you would think to be a well-stacked defense with everything that you've added in the offseason, plus you have Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward on top of all of that.
They have the Jason Oweh of defenses. All his traits. The traits are all there.
Yeah, the traits are all there. The traits are all there. You know, it's high risk, high reward. I'm not gonna be mean to the Bengals. I was gonna say they got the. I ain't gonna do it too. All right, then we go to the third round pick. Yeah, Anthony Schwartz did not know who this man was before the Browns drafted him. Saw he ran a 4.25. All right, I understand it. I don't know if I love it, but I understand it. Look, the Browns' issue with wide receiver isn't that they don't have enough good wide receivers. It's that all the good wide receivers they have that are healthy are Y or Z wide receivers, right? They're guys you would love to put on the other side of the field with the slot or in the slot, not necessarily somebody you want to have as your X receiver. And when Odell went out, they had a lack of speed. I remember on here talking about trade for John Ross, trade for Brashad Perriman. They need a speed guy, and they ended up getting Marvin Hall, who didn't end up getting playing time. Not saying that Anthony Schwartz is going to get a guarantee to get playing time, but if he could take end arounds, if he could do some trick plays, if he could just run fast and long straight on a play action boot, that's all we need him to do at this point. Now, do you draft that in the third round? That's a question. I don't know if you draft that in the third round. And I don't think this guy develops to be like Odell Beckham Jr. killer or whatever. I heard people compare him to Tyreek Hill. I had to go on Twitter and tell people, stop comparing fast dudes to Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is much more than just fast, right? He's a great route runner, ball skills, athletic beast, ball control, body control, all that stuff. Like, this dude is not Tyreek Hill in the slightest. He's just fast. He is somebody, if you get Brashad Perriman, what the Browns got out of Brashad Perriman in 2018 out of him, you're happy. I would say that's about as good as you could have hoped. Well, not as good as you could have hoped with that pick, but that's a good enough. You got your return on investment. You got what you wanted on that pick. Then you go to the fourth round. I like James Hudson, the tackle out of Cincinnati. He's going to be competing for that swing tackle spot with what's the guy we got out of Pittsburgh a few years ago? Is it Irvin or something? He was your swing guard for a while. But
the Steelers swing guard, Hubbard?
Yeah, Chris Hubbard.
Yeah.
I always confuse him with Cam Irvin. Cam Irvin was awful for the Browns, but he's actually pretty good now. And then Tommy Togai. Tommy Togai is an interesting guy because he's real twitchy and real strong, but like he'll hit a spin move. He'll hit some like real good short area burst moves there, but he's so eager to get upfield that he's not really a great run defender or not quick enough to get upfield to be a great pass rusher. So he ends up kind of just being meh in there. I think he's definitely a developmental piece. He's somebody who I think the high end you would get is a miniature Cam Hayward, right? Like mini Cam Hayward. If Cam Hayward had a lack of size, this is probably what Tommy Togai is, right? He has that same short area quickness, decent ball get off, but he's just 6 foot and 300 pounds. Cam Hayward's like 350, 6'5". So, he's not going to be as dominant, or he's not going to be anywhere close to Cam Hayward. But if you can get something resembling Cam Hayward in the fifth or in the fourth round, I'm not upset with it. Tony Fields is a decent linebacker. He's a real athletic guy, more coverage guy. I don't know that much about him, but I know people are excited about him. But the people I see excited about him make me think that this dude's going to be one of those guys that people ask me about for 3 years and then never plays because they're like, it's just that crowd of people. So I don't know. Richie LeCounte, have no idea what this dude is, to be honest with you. Former 5-star safety. Yeah, he's another RAS score guy. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm not real high on the RAS score stuff, but we'll see.
He was not highly thought of in a lot of the big boards either. I watched a little bit of him because the Steelers had some interest, and he's just a guy.
Yeah, we'll see if he makes the team. To be honest,
yeah.
At this point, Tony Fields, Richie LeCounte, we'll see if they make the team. Demetric Felton's an interesting guy because he's a wide receiver running back hybrid. He's going to be competing with Dearness Johnson, who returns kicks for the Browns for that third running back utility role. And I think if he can run the ball just a little bit, he'll probably win that competition because he does add more versatility. He's somebody you can put out there at wide receiver. Not that you would want to put him out there at wide receiver here at the Browns. So, it's another trick you can add to the bag. Maybe he could take some of those end arounds too and return kicks for you. So that's he's probably there because they think they can replace like 2 different positions with one guy if he can make the team. So, Dimitrich's probably going to make the team if he can run the ball a little bit. I don't know if he can run the ball at the NFL level, though, but he's a 6th-round pick. So if he doesn't make it, he doesn't make it. Overall, look, once they got JOK and Greg Newsome,
You're done.
I could care less. They could have drafted Gregory Rousseau after that. I would have been cool with it because I got the 2 guys I want.
Gregory Rousseau was the 1st-round pick. Don't disrespect Gregory Rousseau. He was a 1st-round pick.
Yeah. So was
Bills got him and Basham. I actually kind of, to be honest, I kind of like
better. Yeah, I think Basham will end up being better, and they'll be like, man, why did we draft Rousseau in the 1st round? If we knew, it's like kind of admit it's like, hey, you get Rousseau, who you think can be this inside guy, outside tweener, and then you draft Carlos Basham, who's the same guy, and it's like, oh damn, we really drafted Rousseau. Let's get somebody who's good. Peyton Turner ain't on the board. Let's get Carlos Basham. That's essentially what the Bills did there, right? They just like, I don't know about this one. Let's get Carlos Basham just in case.
I just triggered him with that.
I know. By the way, Carlos Basham.
You can't bring up Russo on this show. It's just we go on a 30-minute tangent.
By the way, Carlos Basham, actually high risk, high reward. I'm just saying he's an actual high risk, high reward guy, unlike Rousseau. But yeah, I mean, once they got JOK and Greg Newsome, they could have got anybody else in the world, and I would have been like, yo, this is a borderline A draft, right? Because for the Browns, the players are going to matter, or guys are going to go in like the first 4 rounds, and I like who they got after that. So yeah, I'm obviously very happy about the draft, very happy about the offseason in total for the Cleveland Browns, but now it's about how this is going to look on the field. A lot of optimism, a lot of potential on this defense that we have never seen lined up. I mean, this defense is completely different other than Miles and Denzel from everybody out there that used to be on the field. So we'll see what Joe Woods is made out of. But one thing's true. If Joe Woods stinks this year, Joe Woods probably going to be fired, right? Because they gave you the groceries this offseason. You cannot deny that Andrew Berry gave you a healthy dosing of groceries. If you cannot put together a top 15 defense with these groceries, then you probably shouldn't be the defensive coordinator for the team. So we'll see. And people out here like, oh, Quincy didn't do homework on LeCount. Why? Is LeCount going to make the team?
Yeah.
I worry about LeCount when LeCount makes the team. If he makes a team, dog, film breakdown, I'll look at it. But until then, you think I'm about to break down 10 hours of film of Richie LeCount when he got drafted in the 6th round, and he might be like the 5th safety on this team? I got a life to live, man. I can't just be out here doing that.
No. Yeah. Spoilers, Tony didn't watch. Next week when we get to the Steelers, Tony didn't watch a lot of Isaiah Loudermilk or Trey Norwood. Okay, didn't watch a lot of these guys. I apologize.
I'm not going to be out here lying to y'all, acting like I did watch these guys. I didn't watch a guy. I'll let you know. I'm not going to sit here and copy what Lance Zierlein said and be like, oh, see, I watched the tape, like a lot of people do on Twitter.
So shout out to everybody that's been here in the live. By the way, make sure you hit that like real quick. So we're going to take the last couple of super chats here. Wait. Before I do that, I do want to show the grades the fans have giving on Twitter. Now, I will say this. Bengals fans represent them way better than Browns fans so far. I think we have maybe 10 hours left. Bengals fan had like 250 votes. Browns fan had 61. Q, you have to retweet this and make sure your Grammy fans vote for them. But so far, A and then B, but it's strong A.
So it's 83% of this vote was from Browns fans, and then the rest of it was from Ravens, Bengals, and Steelers fans.
No, all of this vote was from other teams' fans because they're like, hell, you gotta give it up to the Browns. They did a good job. And then I'm about to retweet this, and then it's gonna be just Browns fans voting. So there's gonna be a long shaft for that vote.
By the way, it's if you guys want to be part of these polls, make sure you follow us on Twitter. Okay, so the trip says here, not gonna lie, I was a little heated when y'all got Marvin Wilson.
Oh yeah, like I forgot to talk about Marvin Wilson. Let me talk about him real quick.
The Browns have the undrafted. This is a draft podcast. That's undrafted guy.
I actually looked at Marvin Wilson before the draft. All right, like I actually did. I know people are like, you watch Marvin Wilson, but you ain't gonna watch Ricky LeCount. Yes, absolutely, because I will. But because there's also like, if you don't have film for a safety, what are you? I'm gonna watch broadcast tape and then look at a safety, be like, oh yeah, he's doing good. There's no way. You can't see him. I can look at the defensive tackle from the broadcast, but Marvin Wilson is a big guy. He's a space eater. The Browns have 2 piles of defensive tackles they're taking, the pass rush defensive tackles, which is like Jordan Elliott, what used to be Sheldon Richardson, and Malik Jackson now. And then they got the run stuffers, Andrew Billings, and then they need another beefy dude in there. Marvin Wilson, he got a very high guarantee to be an undrafted free agent, so I'm just considering him a 7th-round draft pick at this point. He has a good chance to make the team. He's going to battle it out with Billings. Billings will win that role more than likely, but it's going to be if Marvin Wilson can be who he was in 2019, right, where he was projected to be a 1st-round pick and pass rush a little bit, then he could actually make the team and not be somebody you're trying to sneak on the practice squad.
Yep. So in Mischief Culture TV says Browns go 13-4 or 12-5. Very literally could be one of the teams that to maybe take down KC and make a serious playoff run this year. Look, they did it last year, right? They did the playoff.
Watch out for Chad Henne. They just got to watch out for Chad Henne.
Okay, baby, he gonna be the Chad Henne stopper.
Okay, there you go.
We had to draft the answer for Chad Henne in the 2nd round. It's JOK.
Can't let that happen.
That spy on J. We're gonna put that spy on Chad Henne. It ain't gonna be no more Henne time. All right. For real though, Chad Henne legitimately got like 3 dudes on that defensive line fired last year because of how that play rolled out. Adrian Claiborne did not get brought back because of how he rushed on that one play, and neither did Sheldon Richardson. So shout out to Chad Henne, man, because he changed the entire Browns defense. Fucking Chad Henne.
Soul Train here again says teams you're most concerned about matchup wise for each of you. Man, I don't know. I think right now, like for the Ravens at least, right now, I would say the Browns. I think the Ravens match up well with the Browns, but the Browns are a very complete team right now. And I will say this too. I will say, and I said this last year, Bengals are not pushover in this division. Like the Bengals are a legit team that it would be like record-wise might not look great, but they will be like, it's annoyingly bad, if that makes sense. Like they might not be good on record, but they're just annoying and they're gonna compete with you. They're not a pushover, right? Some teams you go there and they'll be like 2-10, and you're like, I'm just gonna roll over. That's not gonna be the Bengals, right? They're not gonna be the Bengals like that. But right now, the Browns.
What's Lamar's record against Ben again? I can't remember. Is it 0-1? Is it 0-1?
Yeah.
Oh man, he's bragging about 0-1. I
didn't know it was just that one game. That's so weird because Ben's a bum. I keep reading in chat how Ben's a bum. He's always finished.
0-1.
Okay. Just wondering.
I think for me, I think it's the Ravens just because of the corners. Because when we were talking about pick and chase, I said, well, that's not going to do anything against the Ravens because they have 3 good corners. Then you have Lamar Jackson, who's always a matchup nightmare. And then you talk about the run game as well. You guys ran for almost 500 yards. So for me, being that you guys have those corners that can take on the receivers that we have, and obviously you guys really took it to Joe Burrow last year, I think that has got to be the Ravens for me.
For me, I'll go outside the box. Obviously, I think the Browns right now, just roster construction wise, that was, they're the best team in the division right now. So that's going to be the toughest to match up against. Same thing, the Ravens last year, obviously, the Steelers-Ravens game in Baltimore was ultra competitive. But I'll say this, you look at the Steeler roster right now, and there's one spot where you still have big open questions, and that's the cornerbacks. I know people are going to talk about offensive line. We'll get there next week. It's going to be a huge discussion next week about the offensive line. Yeah. Can't wait for that one. But in the meantime, let's talk about the Steelers cornerback room where it is, desperately thin. You have basically Joe Hayden and Cam Sutton, and then, an undrafted guy in James Pierre, who I like a lot. Love James Pierre. Don't get me wrong. I'm all in on the James Pierre hype train. 11 snaps in the NFL. 11 snaps in the NFL. So when you think about that, those guys going up against now what is going to be Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, it's going to be tough. That'll be a tough matchup.
And Q, by the way, as Q's talking, give me the grades for the Browns. As I forgot to ask in the chat.
Definitely not.
Yeah, should be A's.
I'm sorry?
Quincy always hate. I don't get why people think I'm hating.
I thought you were asking the fans to put their grade for the Browns, or were you asking Quincy?
No. Grades for the Browns for the fan base.
You want me to get the super chat real quick? Before
Yeah,
you
yeah,
throw
go
the-
ahead. Yeah, yeah.
So Misfit Culture Steelers are 0-1, not 0-1. The Steelers are winless versus the Browns.
That's
Well, no,
not
not
true.
the Steelers. Not the
Do we
Steelers.
not
Not the
forget about
Steelers.
2002?
Not the Steelers. Not the Steelers. Big Ben is winless versus the Browns.
Yeah,
in the playoffs.
make sure we get that right, because we can talk about Tommy Maddox and Chris Fuamatu Ma'afala. Okay, I'm sure Browns fans have great memories of that football game.
I mean, I literally was not able to form great memories at that point in my life. So nothing you're saying can hurt me. Now I was 7. What you want me to do? I ain't know what football was.
All right, you're lucky. You just missed out. You missed out on a good one. Browns fans.
Dennis Northcutt dropping that ball means nothing to me. I'm
Can we
just
remind
saying.
them about the beauty that was Amos Zeroué and Chris Fuamatu Ma'afala behind T-Gun Tommy Maddox?
Yeah. You know, Ben, he lost a game of significance. What the guy say? Yeah, he would never lose a game of significance versus the Browns. He definitely lost one at least.
One.
But yeah, what team do I fear? And is this just the AFC North or just like the AFC in total?
Yeah, the North. Yeah, the division. Yeah.
It's
Look at Quincy sliding that in there. You mean just the AFC
Yeah.
in general?
He's on
AFC
listen,
elite.
the
He's
Browns are on to
elitist.
bigger and better. The Bucks, probably like the Buccaneers.
We're
maybe
talking about the Chiefs?
Yeah.
I see.
But right now it's the Ravens, right? For the Browns, they did not beat the Ravens last year. I'm gonna pound that into the ground during the offseason. People are high and mighty on the Browns for good reason. They have a good roster right now, but they didn't beat the Ravens last year. They got to beat the Ravens. That's the bottom line here, right? You have to continue to do what you did against Pittsburgh at the end of the season and not let what happened at the beginning of the season happen with Pittsburgh. And you got to continue what you've been doing for the last 3 years, the Cincinnati Bengals. None of those things are guarantees, right? Especially with the Steelers and the Bengals. Bengals will play you close. Like, I joke about the close sweeps, but they are close sweeps. Like, you know, they almost won that game unless Baker like has a heroic last quarter performance and Lou Anarumu assists him by going into cover 1 or cover 0 sometimes, which seemed to be a hot thing to do last year because he was not the only defensive coordinator doing that last year. Or the Steelers just completely just throwing up on their like with Mom's Spaghetti at the beginning of the 8 Mile song, just completely just having stage fright before their playoff game and just blowing up 28 points to you. You know, so none of these things are guarantees, right? The Browns could have easily be a 10-win, can easily be a 13-win team. They can easily be a 9-win team. We've seen a great roster go and win 6 games here in Cleveland before. But yeah, it's Baltimore right now because, you know, even you have JOK, he's not going to be somebody who's so athletic that he's going to spy Lamar Jackson. Like there's nobody in the world that is, unless you clone Lamar Jackson and hope Lamar can move as good sideways as he does forward, then yeah, maybe you might have a chance to stop Lamar Jackson with the spy. But, you know, Lamar's going to present problems. That offensive line, we'll see what happens with that offensive line. They got a lot of question marks to fill in Baltimore, but if they can get it together, they can run the ball. And those wide receivers, I like what they did at wide receiver. They got Tylen Wallace and they got Rashad Bateman. I am a huge fan of what they were able to do at wide receiver. And now you're in a situation with Sammy Watkins and Rashad Bateman where you're not relying on Hollywood Brown, which, hey, look, I know y'all think I'm a Hollywood Brown hater or whatever, but everything I've said about Hollywood Brown has been correct. 800-yard cap. Said that 2 years ago. Every time Quincy's a hater, he has bad takes all the time. They age well, though. All right, that's all I'm saying.
There was one that didn't age well.
The 6-10 thing for the Steelers that age well, but at the end of the season, it came up looking good, didn't it, baby?
No.
So, I mean,
6-10 to 12-4 is not.
Yeah. I mean, it was better. It was better for the Browns that y'all did that because, you know, that embarrassment would have tasted better than what y'all just would have went 6-10.
By the way, I got to remind all the Browns fans, you know, people keep talking about the Browns winning this game. Look, the Steelers won the second half of that game, okay? The Steelers didn't lose. They ran out of time. Okay. That's what happened, okay? They ran out of time. Fifth quarter, that game does happen.
On the halfback screen. Nick Chubb didn't score on the halfback screen.
The Steelers didn't lose. They ran out of time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. Okay. They definitely lost. All right. They came back on some soft coverage with Robert Jackson out here giving 10-yard cushions. Like, okay, well, you know what I mean? We're not even going to entertain that John Fantoni. But yeah, it's the Ravens. The Ravens have a ton of problems for the Browns defensively, offensively. I would go with the Steelers being a close second here just because TJ Watt himself presents a ton of problems for what the Browns do. It's just, I don't know what that secondary is going to be like, right? Like that's the question. And I don't know how they're going to produce next to TJ Watt. I don't know who that guy is going to be. Is it still going to be Highsmith? Is that going to be Highsmith this year?
Of course.
Yeah, it's going to be Highsmith. So I don't know if he's going to be Bud Dupree. Like, I don't know what that situation is. Devin Bush, we have to figure out what Devin Bush is going to be in the NFL. I think he's going to be pretty good, but we don't know yet at this point. Minka's going to be good, but you don't know about Joe Hayden. He's getting older and older. It's like 11 years in the league for him now. So corners usually don't age or last that long. So it's kind of surprising they're still sticking with him. And what, Cam Sutton? Y'all brought back Cam Sutton, didn't y'all?
Got Cam Sutton and future Hall of Famer James Pierre. So yeah.
Sure. So, but TJ Watt is the big problem there, right? If the Ravens had a premier pass rusher, that would be like icing on the cake. Really hard team to beat. It's just the Steelers got that guy like TJ Watt, he can ruin any play action that he wants on any given play against whoever you put in front of him. So hats off to TJ Watt. Shouldn't have been defensive player of the year. He wasn't defensive player of the year, but he's very good. He's definitely the second best defensive player in football last year.
Well, I mean, when you put him behind the greatest player in the NFL we have right now,
Aaron Donald is a walking right now Hall of Famer. That's the only even with Miles or TJ. That's why I say winning defensive player of the year, you're gonna have to break some kind of record to take it.
Ace, you want to say something?
Yeah, the only thing I would like to acknowledge is that Steeler Nation 412 really posted in the chat Haskins era. I just wanted to point that.
Well, I think he was going along with me. I said Mason Rudolph era. He's going with Haskins era. He's absolutely right. He's
Haskins
right.
era. Wow,
that's right.
Roach being
I'm ready for the Haskins era. That's all I can say. I'm ready for it.
Okay, guys.
Were you ready for the Duck era? I mean, listen. I don't think a lot of people in this chat have fond memories of Duck.
You guys still got the Duck hats? Do you get rid of them? You sell them on eBay yet?
Can we get it?
Yeah.
Can we get it?
Still got the Duck
I would
hat.
say this. Although Tony left, I think if you put all these quarterbacks of the Steelers together, you might have half a quarterback, right?
There it is.
Yeah.
We still got it. Come on, you thought I wasn't a real Duck fan? I mean, you thought that the Duck stuff was fake?
What does Duck play for now?
Okay.
He's on a practice squad somewhere.
Yeah, he's on the Rams. Oh yeah, I'm a secret Rams fan now. I'm a backup Rams fan.
He's got a lot of teams.
Okay, guys. So I will say this. We tried to separate this. As you see, we've been here for an hour and a half. Part 1, part 2 next week. Ravens and Steelers. So we're going to be talking Ravens and Steelers. And obviously, any other news that comes from the AFC North, make sure you subscribe, you like, you share this content. If you're an AFC North Talk fan, we cover all AFC North. So we cover the Browns, Ravens, Steelers, and the Bengals. So Ace, where they can find you, bro?
You can find me on New Stripe City. You can also find me here at AFC North Talk. So be sure to bang that subscribe button. You can catch all kind of draft content on the Bengals and on any of the AFC North platforms on both of these platforms. And you could also follow me on at New Stripe City on Twitter.
Cute.
Yeah, you can find me on youtube.com/Quincy Carrier. Apparently on my YouTube channel, all I'm doing is hating on everybody because Quincy is the biggest hater of everybody who, even though I thought that I said the Ravens had a good draft, I'm a Raven hater, even though, I guess it's justifiable to call me a Steeler hater because I really just don't like that organization.
Did you love the Steeler draft? We'll talk about that next week.
I love the Steeler draft, but did you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
we'll get there. I'm not gonna. We'll get there.
It's two different levels of appreciation that we got going on for that level for what y'all did there. It's respect out there for y'all. But yeah, you can find me hating on everybody, I guess, on my channel because that's all I do is hate and have bad takes. Even though, you know what I mean, you might be able to point out one or two famous takes out here, but dig them up. Austin Cyber aged well, didn't it? A lot of them did. I ain't gonna flex on y'all though.
Tony.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Steeler Country. Of course, you can find me every Tuesday here, 5:45 p.m. Eastern Time. You're gonna want to tune into next week's episode. Next week's episode is gonna be spoilers. It's gonna be a good one. I mean, the Steeler talking next week is just gonna be. It's gonna be classic. If you guys were around for the original AFC North Talk videos, when these were far more contentious. It's probably going to get like that.
Yeah. I just want to know, Ace, I got a question to ask you. Which team drafted the better tight end, the Ravens or the Steelers? Because the Ravens got Jason Owa in the first round, and then the Steelers win.
I knew that was coming. Hey, guys, you can follow me, SCG Sport, every platform, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and whatever. IG. Also, make sure you follow the AFC North Talk as we're going to be polling questionings all there. Make sure you follow AFC North Talk on Twitter. Thank you for watching this episode of the AFC North Talk. We'll see you next time.
And Shay,